Rise and Shine Garage Doors is a premium garage door service company servicing the Twin Cities area of Minnesota, including outer state Minnesota and western Wisconsin from St. Cloud all the way down to Rochester, Minnesota. We pride ourselves on providing the best customer service in all garage door repairs. We take great pride in having a premium service for all of our customers. Rise of the Rooster podcast is here to help you improve your relationship that you have with the largest mechanical moving object in your home. Now here's your host, Logan Greene, with the Rise of the Rooster podcast. We are clucking good at what we do. Welcome to the Rise of the Rooster podcast. I'm your host, Logan Greene, and today I have with us the founder and executive creator for Jack's Caregivers Coalition, Kyle Woody. I think I got your title correct. Executive Director. Yes, Executive Director of Jack's Caregivers Coalition, Kyle Woody. Thank you for joining me today.
It's an honor to be here. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know I have a really close relationship with the people at Jack's, and you guys have meant so much to me. And at a grassroots level, I mean, Jack's is there to improve the way men think, feel, and act in their role as a caregiver. I know that's a big thing you guys kind of talk about. Would you be able to share a little bit more with me, kind of about what Jack's does?
Yeah, so I think it's important to, what you mentioned there was our mission statement, right? Like that's what guides us, but why is that the mission statement? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? I'm thinking that way, Logan, because you've been a caregiver, you understand that. I've been a caregiver, I understand that. Hopefully through this podcast we reach people who've never been a caregiver, and so how can we help them understand? And so I think of it like this, that especially for guys, the hero fixes it without help culture that many of us grow up in, we end up falling into a trap. And many of us don't realize we're in that trap. And throughout a caregiving journey, there are a lot of traps, and they're especially in the transitions. So upon diagnosis is a big transition, right? You go from living a normal everyday life to suddenly, if it's cancer, you're at oncology clinics, people are speaking a different language to you that you don't understand. So that's a big trap. Oftentimes, people, unfortunately, if the case is severe, they end up losing their loved one. So there's another transition, which is full of traps, for guys, especially. And then even folks with your story, if I can be so bold as to share the fact that, you guys are in a place called remission or no evidence of disease, and
Yep.
the world's kind of looking at you and saying, well, you're better, right? And yeah, things are better, but also you've been changed by this experience on a deep fundamental level, your entire family, but especially you and your wife. And so the world might be wanting the old Logan back. And
That guy's not coming back. Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah,
nope, that guy's gone. Yeah,
I'm a different person now. So it's another transition, which can be, for a lot of us, we feel trapped in these situations. So what Jack's, back to your question, tries to do is pull these guys out of these traps, help them feel connected, help them feel appreciated for what it is that they're doing every day, because it's often really stuff that it feels invisible. Who cares that you've done the dishes for the 60th time this week? Who cares that you've gone to treatment? Who cares that you've been the emotional outlet for someone dying, and no one's equipped you to be that, and so Jax comes along, and hopefully you feel seen, you feel heard, you feel understood, you feel appreciated through the community. So exactly how, Sometimes that's a coaching relationship. Sometimes that's stupid fast go-karting that we did in Burnsville last Saturday. Sometimes it's connecting with a care navigator who helps people navigate the healthcare system. It can be all sorts of things, but at the end of the day, we're trying to pull these guys out of these traps of isolation, feeling trapped in the uncertainty, and we have fun doing it too, because that's the other thing. Caregivers do not experience enough joy, and when they do, oftentimes they feel how about it.
Yeah.
They feel guilty, right? Like it's like, okay, I can have a little bit of fun, but if I have too much, well, I'm not supposed to have fun because the person I'm caring for is, going through a crisis. And so we try to give them that permission to have some joy in their lives.
Absolutely. And I think you said that really, really well. And I think it's good to kind of have that information before I kind of ask the next question, which is kind of a question for myself. But what the hell is Jack's Caregivers Coalition and Rise and Shine have anything to do with each other to the point that we have a podcast together? And I kind of wanted to bring that up. I'm going to actually answer that one for our listeners so that they kind of understand. So right now, Rise and Shine Garage Doors is offering a Give 5 Get 5 promotion on all new garage door sales. And a big reason we're doing that is Rise and Shine has always tried to give back to the community. A couple of years ago, especially during the pandemic, Rise and Shine we were still open and we were able to offer some really great discounts and promotions to people, but we also were able to do a fundraiser for a whole month and be able to give back some of those proceeds to Meals on Wheels. And so that's something that we've done in the past. We wanted to kind of bring that back into something that we regularly do. And Rise and Shine has had a lot of really great blessings in the last couple of years with a lot of growth and a lot of really great things that have been moving forward. So something that we want to make sure we are doing to kind of stand by our own values is make sure we are giving back to great organizations such as Jack's Caregivers Coalition. So Jack's has been really meaningful for me as an individual. You guys were a massive help when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer back at the beginning of 2020 and made that whole transition and journey much, I don't want to say easier because it wasn't easy. There were definitely things that were challenging, but more manageable, more understanding, more heard. That made all of that better. And I can't thank you guys enough. And that's why I brought up when this idea came into fruition here at Rise and Shine, I brought up Jack's Caregivers Coalition as one of the first options, as one of our first people that we want to make sure we're giving back to. And so we were really excited to offer this promotion. So from now to the end of April, if you want to purchase a new garage door and you end up moving forward with one, we are going to give you 5% off. And then we are going to give the next 5% to Jack's Caregivers Coalition. And so I don't know how much that's going to be by the end of the month. That's something we're really looking forward and trying to raise that awareness, but also make sure people are getting good quality doors. They're getting a nice door that's going to last a long time. We offer a 5-year parts and labor warranty on it. We can get openers in there as well. That will also count towards that Give 5 Get 5 when you buy a new door. So it can be a really great opportunity for people to get a new garage door into their home, but then also be able to give back to the community a little bit more as well. But is that kind of for you, Kyle? Is that something do a good job of bringing together why we are both here? Is there something you wanted to add to it?
I think it did a great job, and I would just add, that it's a testament to you, Logan. Your membership in the coalition and being a volunteer, stepping up and giving back doesn't start here. It started years ago, and so to me, this is just another chapter of that support, and we're grateful for it, and we're honored that you would consider and that the leadership team there, who I was fortunate to meet in person recently, that you guys would invite us in to be a part of this, because it isn't just the financial support that matters, it's the awareness, because unfortunately a lot of the people listening to this podcast you're probably going to go, I've never heard of that.
Yep.
Um, and that's also fortunate, right? Because we're
Yeah.
changing that. So thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Sure. And that's a big reason I want to kind of bring you on and just have a little bit of a conversation here. Now, I don't want to go into like, okay, how'd you get started? How is Jax here today? That has been talked about. I'm not going to say ad nauseum because that's rude, but it has been talked about a lot. That's something that you have your podcast, Jax podcast for. There's your YouTube channel, and then your website, jaxcaregiverco.org. And there's a lot of really great resources out there as well. But I want to try to talk about a couple things that I think are really great that do meld what Rise and Shine does and what Jax Caregivers does and puts them together really well. And I kind of want to highlight some of those questions instead. But I mean, kind of one of the first kind of great questions I have is like, I've told a lot of people that I really love my job. I really love fixing garage doors. I really love finding solutions for my customers. And it gets me excited to get up in the morning when I have an opportunity to help people and change their and take care of their garage door needs. Many people use their garage door as their main entrance into their home. And so when it's not working, it can be a really big inconvenience. So when we show up to a door that really needs to be fixed, I mean, and we can fix it, I feel like a superhero at the end of that. I mean, there's times where I'll finish the door and just would just start hooting and hollering because I'm getting really excited about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to ask what is something that really burns the desire behind you and the team at Jax Caregiver Coalition that gets you guys excited to get up in the morning and give the help to those caregivers to turn them into the true superheroes themselves.
Yeah. So what are those moments, right? I think and I can just reflect on the most recent one as a, um, you know, being the most relevant due to time. And it was last Saturday at a go-karting event. We had two new gentlemen join us out of the 15 that were there. And so those two new guys, that's a really scary thing to walk into a group of guys that you don't know. And it feels like you're asking for help, right? It's like, wait a minute, am I not measuring up here? Are these people gonna be not my people? You know, am I gonna be made to feel welcome? There's just a lot of anxiety for every single one of them. It doesn't matter who you are, you're never calm and comfortable walking into a new space like that. And so to see us welcome them at the door with their name tag, knowing their name and shaking their hands, and then to see, you know, I got to witness our coalition gather around them and just make them feel seen, appreciated, heard, understood, and experience joy without guilt and feel like they belong to something. When for so long, these guys have probably felt like aliens, like no one
Yeah.
understands their language. No one, and you've experienced this, Logan, right? You know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
that's when I walk out of that event and I do the fist pump in the air, and I just know like what we've done there is started
Yeah.
them on a whole new journey.
Yeah, I think a lot about like when I first joined. I mean, I was 26 years old when my wife was diagnosed. And so there was definitely those first couple of events where I was just like, oh, am I the right guy for this? Am I the and I know I've talked about it a lot, and there's even an article that goes a little bit more into what my experience was with that. But that really makes me feel great to know that there's still more people coming in and that they were able to feel welcomed with that. I mean, that kind of goes into my next question. I mean, when I attended the Jax events, I did not. It didn't take long to feel as I was part of the group. Especially being a lot younger, I was able to join in and talk to people that were older than me, but they had the same experience, and we were able to get along really quickly. that team aspect or being part of a group is really, really important for caregivers to make sure they're feeling supported. But it's also something that we try to build here at Rise and Shine. With a lot of the guys making sure that they're able and willing to help each other out, and they can call each other when they have either a heavy door to lift or a really big job. What are some things that you've learned as a executive director for Jax that help build those team environments that we can use here at Rise and Shine?
Yeah, so it number one, it's a lot harder than it sounds. Just telling everyone, kumbaya, let's be a team,
Mhm.
is not the solution. That's maybe where you start, but it takes dedication, it takes commitment, intention. Um, and and I think ultimately what we're talking about is asking for help. And so how do you at Rise and Shine inspire your team to do that, Um, and I think one of the when we're because we deal with that all the time. Guys who are caregivers just do all the things. They
Yeah.
want to be the hero. They want to be at every appointment. They want to do it all. And eventually that's a recipe for burnout and
Mhm.
mediocrity. And so um, one thing I've learned is that asking for help is actually really complicated. It's not, we think of it as like, oh, I just, if this door is heavy, I call Joe and or I'll say Jameson, because Jameson was the gentleman
Mhm.
who helped me with my garage door.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Jameson, you did a fabulous job. Thank you.
I'll make sure he hears it. Yeah.
Yeah. And but so to ask for help is actually a lot of steps. Number one, you have to identify the need. What do you need
Mhm.
help with? Right. You can't just say, I need help. Um, and then so if it's the door, how are you breaking down the task so that they can help?
Mhm.
Um, then you have to ask for the help. Then you have to accept it. And then a lot of times we feel appropriately, I think, the need to express gratitude and thank someone for that help. If somebody takes our loved
Mhm.
one to treatment down to Rochester,
Yeah.
and then we can do our day job. Well, now we want to send them a card, or now we want to call, so then I think when we actually start thinking through all these steps, we sort of fall into the trap. Here's one of these traps that it's
Mhm.
just easier to do it myself, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about your team, that could be a safety issue, right? Like
Yeah.
we might not be we could end up getting hurt.
Yeah.
And so that's just the thing I would remind everyone is the importance of, obviously safety is a huge thing, I'm sure, in your industry, and
Mhm.
that we want everyone to come home safe. And how are we going to do that? We're going to look out for each other. And um, so, but I just go back to it's way
Yeah.
harder than you think. And when you see it as a leadership group, you should be celebrating it. How can you shine a light on that when it's done well and encourage everyone and show them that this is what good looks like at Rise and Shine?
For sure.
Um, my door failed. And what I learned about it was the guy who owned this home previously was the typical hero, does it alone without help kind of guy, and he had put this door together himself. The springs were designed or weren't designed for the door,
Yeah.
and I had no idea. I don't know
Mhm.
anything about garage doors. And so I ended up in a situation where I could have gone down that path that he did, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
just going to figure this out. I'm going to YouTube it. I'm going to go buy these parts and make this thing work. Um, and it would probably go up and down. Like, eventually I'd
Mhm.
get that door going up and down. But instead, I chose to ask for help and
Yeah.
called you guys, and Jameson was there. He was an expert. He was dedicated. He knew what he was doing, and he had help. I saw another truck show up and was helping Jameson out. I
Yeah.
didn't get to meet that fellow, but so it's pretty cool when you see uh, your team coming together around you to solve a problem that's bigger than you can solve,
Mhm.
right, on your own. Or maybe solve it better for a
Yeah.
longer term solution, a more resilient solution.
For sure. No, we take a lot of pride in that, and that's something that I myself in a leadership position really try to harbor that team atmosphere. But there's definitely things where I'm still trying to learn how to be better at it. But yeah, what you explained right there, that's a big demonstration that I think we try to put out for our customers that like, hey, we're here to help each other. And if we're willing to help each other, how much more are we willing to help you, the customer? And that should be reflected in there. It's like we're not just here to do my job, take collect a paycheck and leave. We actually want to help you as a customer. And I mean, that's something that kind of goes to something else I was thinking of bringing up. I mean, I believe a sign of a really great job well done is something where you can look back and go, yeah, I nailed it. Or like what I was saying, where that a great moment of just woo, hooting and hollering and everything there.
Yeah.
Um, Many times I actually got really envious of one of my coworkers a couple weeks ago because he rolled up to a door that had a broken cable. Broken cables are my favorite doors to fix because they look really, really bad. They look horrible. And most of the time, as long as those your panels are still square, we can fix it. It's not a problem. And this door was really messed up. It borderline foobar, but it was pretty messed up. And I was like, it's fixable. And we see the pictures and we look at it. And my coworker who's out there, and one of the guys on my team, he's like, we put a plan together. I told him about it. He's like, yeah, I think I can do that. And I'm like, great, awesome. And I was in a position I wasn't able to go out and help him, but I told him, I was like, I'm kind of jealous, man. Like, that's going to be a really, really great fix. And a big reason because at the end of it, with how messed up the door looked to how it looks at the end, and you can actually see this on our Facebook page a couple weeks ago, the Transformation Tuesday. Um, it looked brand new. It looked great. It was running better than ever had before, and it was fixed. It was well done. It was done in like an hour and a half. I mean, and that was a really, really great feeling that we got really excited about. What moments are you most proud of as the Jack's executive director? Where something you look back, you know you had a huge impact, and you're able to just go, you know what, we nailed it.
Yeah. There's fortunately a lot of them. And so I struggled to even think of one. Um, but, but I think at the end of the day, it's the most frequent experience is guys reaching out and asking
Mhm.
for help, um, on their own, because that's happening more and more. And when we started this thing, it was their wife calling us and saying, "You got to help him. You know,
Mhm.
he's a deer in the headlights." I'd had a guy called me, "Hey, she's listening to me. She made me call." And so that was him not asking for help, right? Like
Yeah.
that was him going with trying to please the love of his life. And
Mhm.
it's no judgment on him. I don't the reason people do these things are cultural, they're societal, they aren't their fault. But when I see
Yeah.
guys reaching out, because a lot of times faced with a crisis, guys, but if we stereotype, gals tend to reach out and connect, and guys tend to check out.
Yep.
If it's a problem they can't solve, like a garage door, which oftentimes cancer or ALS, these diseases are not solvable, at least not by you, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe there's some expert at Mayo that has the solution, but you certainly don't. That so to see that changing culturally every day in our work and seeing guys saying, you know what, I there are people that know more about this than me, and I want to learn from them and
Yeah.
connect with them. And so every time it happens, I'm just like, I have that moment, when they reach out. And we're not going to be perfect for everyone, right?
Yeah.
We if we can't provide them what they're looking for, we're going to work our asses off to find where they can find what they're looking for and connect them to that, whatever that is. So yeah, I wondered if I could ask you a question
Yeah.
about Rise and Shine. I hear the hero stuff in you, and I appreciate that. We all love that. I think oftentimes about preventative, rather than being the firefighter crashing in and putting the fire out, how do we
Yeah.
check the smoke detector batteries? How, the less glamorous sort of thing often, but the thing that is probably really more effective. If I'm a garage door owner, which I am,
Mhm.
what can I look at in my garage door system or pay attention to that
Yeah.
might be a sign that something's going wrong, or just anything that I could be doing to increase the life of my system, um,
For
that
sure.
so I don't end up in the situation that I did 2 weeks ago with it's cold outside, my wife can't get her car in the
Yeah.
garage, she's pissed, I'm
Yeah.
pissed, everybody's pissed.
Yeah. I'll go
Um,
through a kind of quick step process, and something you should always be doing probably every 6 months or so is lubricate your garage door. And you want to use a garage door specific lubricant on all of the hinges. The springs are typically right above your garage door. That you want to get those nice and lubricated wherever there's metal grinding on metal. And then a lot of garage doors have a shaft, and then there's end bearings on the side. So you want to lubricate those end bearings too. Some garage door systems are a little different where they'll have extension springs where the springs are on the side. You'll have a couple of other bearings that need to be lubricated, or you have an easy wind system where it's just one big spring on the side, or an internal spring system where it's inside of a tube. Each one does require something a little different, but if you just start off with a general lubrication of your door as something you regularly do to help prevent issues, that's going to be something that's going to help. As far as the next kind of couple steps is really being in tune with what sounds right. A lot of times you can think you're looking at your garage and something's looking weird, but you really want to start off with what it sounds like. What is your motor making a consistent sound? What does that sound like when you press the button? Does it sound different today? Does it sound
yeah.
weird? I can tell quite a bit from a garage door just by listening to it. Whether the wheels are clicking, or the hinges are squealing at me, or the opener is making some horrible noise, or even the springs can get really dry and dunk, 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 dunk. It's a horrible sound, but it's something that I can listen to somebody's garage and know a lot what's going on with it. I actually had a situation. I was working on a garage door in an alleyway, and I heard the neighbor across the alley start opening his garage. I went, ugh. I walked over and said, "Hey, is it okay if I lubricate your door for you, just as a gift from me to you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I lubricate my door all the time." I'm like, "Okay, well, show me where." And sure enough, he missed his springs right above it, and I'm like, I could just hear that. So I showed him where to lubricate, rather than where he was lubricating before. He liked to lubricate inside the tracks, which wasn't really necessary. But then once you hear it, you look at it, make sure the door is running well, and then you do want to do a manual test. So a lot of people will connect it to the opener and then never disconnect it, and then something goes wrong. Springs naturally sag throughout their lifespan; they'll get heavy, and so you want to disconnect your opener from or the door from the opener, and then run your door by hand. I like to do what I call the pinky test because I'm a pretty big guy. I'm pretty strong. What I can lift with one hand is very different than a little old lady that's able to lift with one hand. So I try to do a pinky test for myself where I'll use one pinky and lift up the door. If I can do it with one pinky, then the door is running really well. It's coming off the bottom well, it's floating in the middle, and it's not flying up at the top. You want to make sure that's checking if your door is balanced. If you notice that the door is doing something outside of being easy to lift at the bottom, floating in the middle, and staying floating at the top and not flying up. If you notice anything outside of that, that's where you really want to call a professional and come double check your door and give it its annual tune-up. So an annual tune-up is really good where we can lubricate your door for you, but then also check and see if anything else does need to be worked on, whether we check out for rust, on your bottom brackets or cables, or making sure your spring is balanced. So that's kind of something we can do as prevention. A lot of people don't even know that you are supposed to lubricate your door, but if you start off
Yeah,
with general lubrication, you're going
I
to
had
solve a
no
lot of
idea.
problems right there. Yep.
I was clueless. And
Yeah.
I can also vouch for, I was talking to one of our members who, Mike McGarry recently,
Hmm.
actually this morning, and he was telling me about Jason on your team and how he came out. And um, I think one thing Mike said was just feeling like Jason was really on his side, and Mike had this fear of being sold something he didn't need.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess he had experienced that with another one of your competitors, and he told
Yeah.
me that Jason left the door fixed.
Hmm.
He felt good about the solution, um, and didn't, the door looks great, and
Yeah,
so I would think that some folks that's a concern, right? Is
for
if I get
sure.
a professional involved, they know more than I do. They
Hmm.
have a hand, they have leverage over me and can potentially sell me something I don't need. And I just know from my experience with Jameson and Mike's experience with Jason, that that's not what you guys are doing there.
For sure.
So I just want to celebrate that, um, and that, hopefully can bring people's anxiety down around getting that inspection,
Mhm.
getting, calling your team out for help, knowing that it's not the door is, that's not the solution always. Sometimes, of course, it is. These
Mhm.
things run their life and they need to be replaced.
For
Um,
sure.
but
It
yeah,
looks like we are running short-ish on time. I'm just going to kind of plow through this kind of last one for you, so we don't run, because we only have so much time before it kicks us off. But I kind of want to roll out the red carpet for you. I mean, what does Jax have coming up in the next couple weeks, or next couple months, and where can we find you? And how can we support you, even if somebody already has a new garage door and doesn't need one from us?
yeah, so good questions. As far as fundraising events coming up, April 20th, we're going to be in Edina for our spring Hootenanny. It's a membership drive featuring Jeremy Messersmith, a local musician that many folks know. And then in June, we'll have a golf tournament up at North Forks, June 9th. And then September 28th is our what we call the Big Give, and that's our big annual fundraiser.
Yeah,
Um,
I always
that
enjoy the big give. That's a fun one to be at.
Yeah, so hopefully you can come out, learn about what we do, meet the people that we've helped, and chip in and participate, um, and join in the mission. As far as like events, and we've got fire. When I say events, I mean like for the caregivers.
Mhm.
Fire pit Fridays coming up. We're doing a mushroom hunt. We've got a our eighth annual or not golf, fishing outing on Lake Minnetonka, that's scheduled, and other things. So I won't go into detail, but there's a program schedule on our website. And of course, just call the number on the website, or you can also text us at that number if calling feels like a little bit too much.
Yeah,
Um,
jackscaregiverco.org.
that's right. And if that's hard to remember, just Google Jack's Caregiver. We're the only ones, so it should bring you right to us.
Fantastic. Well, Kyle, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to have conversation with me today. I hope this gets out to more people, and more people that need us and need Jacks. They can find us a little bit easier. And I'm really excited to see what people are wanting to get their door fixed and replaced because of this episode, and because we're trying to do this for you. And it's kind of mixing a couple different things where it's like, hey, you need to get a garage door, let's do something good at the same time. I hope that's something that's people are able to see it as a big value, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
We are as well, Logan. Grateful for you being an advocate for us out in the community personally, for your team at Rise and Shine showing up for caregivers who are out there doing this impossible job every single day. So every single dime that you guys raise is doing something about that. So thank you. And
Perfect.
thank you to all your customers who are willing to support us.
Thank you very much, Kyle. Well, hey, thank you so much again. Well, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk to you later. Remember, we rule the roost.
Thanks.